with Terry Johnson, who is a candidate for the North Carolina State District 44, and I want to welcome him to our program. And Mr. Johnson, for the sake of the audience, can you tell a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for the invite. Like Adam said, my name is Terry Johnson, and I'm a candidate for North Carolina House of Representatives District 44 here in Fayetteville. It's a new district that has been redrawn for 2020. If you could imagine coming off of Fort Bragg on Yadkin Road, crossing over to McPherson Road, down to Rayford Road, hang a right and head out to Hope County. So that there, in a sense, is District 44 for the 2020 election.
Okay, just for the sake of understanding, how much of your district is in Hope County, by the way?
None of the districts in Hope County.
Okay.
It ends at the Hope County line.
Ends at the Hope County line. All right, thank you very much. So you made a decision to run for public office, and what is it that you've been encountering that made you make that decision, I guess?
Well, you know, for many years, I'm from Fayetteville. I'm a Fayetteville native. I've been in the community since 1970, really since 1965, when my parents moved here. My father was in the military. We lived on Fort Bragg for a couple of years, and then my parents built a home off of Fort Bragg in 1970. And so I'm here. I'm a native. And so I've been volunteering in the community for all these years, coaching girls softball, boys baseball at the rec level, and also at the middle school level. And I'm also the president of the Foxfire Concerned Citizens Association in my neighborhood. Right. And then over the years, you know, I never was inspired to get into politics. I just rather do it at the community level. But then there was a couple of things that came up. One of the hot topics was the Civil War Museum, you know, locally and at the state level, and then the General Assembly budget, the budget not being passed. And so that is what motivated me to come off the sidelines. And I realized that I could not complain about the options if I wasn't willing to be an option. And so that was the litmus stick there that got me going.
Okay, okay. And how have you found it so far?
Well, it's different than volunteering in the community.
Right.
You know, many times on social media I say it's challenging, but behind the scenes it's kind of like dirty, nasty. But I'm gonna deal with it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna be on the positive side of it. You know, a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that the general voters don't see, but it's all good. I'm gonna continue to do the work that is in me and run the good race.
Okay. You find when you get to Raleigh that there'll be situations that you might have to vote on or deal with, negotiate through, to try to convince people that this is the best way to go. And are you ready for that? Have you considered that?
I have considered. You know, I've spoken with a couple of people, and because it goes back to the reason why I decided to come off the sidelines. I have to have an understanding why some people voted the way they voted. Mm-hmm. For example, let me take it back a couple of years ago when they was voting on the Cumberland County Fayetteville Parks and Recreation bond. Mm-hmm. A good friend of mine who voted against it, and I thought she was for it, when I called her up, I realized when she shared with me, she said, well, Terry, they had other things in here also. And so we was trying to get the recreation center and everything, but there were other things that were in there that we didn't want as a community. And she had the pulse of the community, so that's why she didn't vote for it. So with what you're saying is, I realized there are going to be times in Raleigh that I will have to get a better understanding of the issue, talk with the people, my constituents back in Fayetteville, and make the right decision, hopefully make the right decision.
Especially listening to your constituents, I guess, right, would help you make that decision. And I think there's an education piece that has to take place. And I'm hearing right now that by you explaining things, that how things work, that there is an education piece that I think the general public has to understand. Right. And so that's good. So in terms of your challenger is Billy
Correct.
right? Billy Richardson
Correct.
is your challenger. And how have you found that part of it in terms of being up against somebody that has that kind of name recognition?
Well, he has the name recognition, but one of the things about it, the playing field has been leveled a little bit with the changing of the district. Because the way District 44 stands now is a total makeup of the way it will be in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you might see all his signs out there, but a sign is not going to get me into office or put me out of office. I'm going to have to do my due diligence and get out there and knock on the doors, make the phone calls, go to the different events, go to the community events, and let the people see who I am,
Mm-hmm.
so they can hold me accountable
Mm-hmm.
and let me speak to them, my platform, and what I plan to do if elected to go into office.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is just being transparent.
Mm-hmm. You had mentioned, not trying to get controversial, but
All
you had
right.
mentioned the Civil War Center
All right.
kind of motivated you. And what is it about that effort that
Well,
had
with,
you say?
with the General Assembly's budget, they had a couple of things in there with the Medicaid expansion.
Mm-hmm.
All North Carolina has to do is say yes.
Mm-hmm.
With the equitable pay for educators and supporting staff, that didn't get approved. But also in that budget, from my understanding, there's a proposed section for $40+ million for a Civil War Museum. This Civil War Museum was crafted like 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's like putting the cart before the horse. Now they're coming to the people wanting the money. But this is the Civil War Museum, the $40 million piece is an if and then statement. All right, the state will give us $40 million plus if the city council with a majority approves it, if the Cumberland County Commissioners approve it. And so my belief is that I do not believe that we should spend tax dollars and money for something so divisive. I say that because when I spoke at the city council meeting, they had all those police officers standing along the wall. Why? Why? Why do we need that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so divisive. What the city failed to do is the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. Let's say that Civil War Museum is built. Who's going to pay for the law enforcement? Look at what just happened up in Raleigh and Durham at a voting site.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to pay for the law enforcement there? Now, I am not an absolute against the Civil War Museum. I just don't believe that our tax dollars should pay for it. And I say that because, years ago, my daughter was studying the civil rights movement. And when she came to me about it, and I told her about my experience and what knowledge I had, and we got on the road and went down to Atlanta, went to Martin Luther King Museum.
Mm-hmm.
When she started learning about the Civil War and Reconstruction period, of course I wasn't there, but I gave her what knowledge I had about it, and we drove just up the road off of 95 to the Adamsboro Battleground, and she had the opportunity to walk on the battleground of the Civil War Museum. She had the opportunity to read the tombstones, go in the little store that they had. So what better place to have the Civil War Museum than to have it right there at the Confederate dead? They go in there. I know they said they're not going to have artifacts and stuff like that, but they could go in there and read the different material and step out on the battleground. We don't need it in Fayetteville. Fayetteville is a diverse community. We don't need that type of divisiveness here. All money is not good money.
Mm-hmm.
They say that, when I say they, I'm not saying white, the people who are for the Civil War Museum said it's going to create 200 jobs.
Right.
In reality, it's only going to create 20 jobs for the Civil War Museum, and they say that on the outskirts, the hotels, the restaurants will generate the other 180 jobs. And so, no, we don't need it here.
Your economic impact is what they're saying.
But
in terms of,
we could use that money for elsewhere.
I agree with you, but I'm saying the rule, I guess the argument for that has been economic impact.
Right.
And we've heard that argument before. But I understand your opposition to it, and well stated. And, but that's the type of argument that you have to make in Raleigh,
Well, correct.
right?
Correct. Well, that's the type of argument we need to make before our city council, because don't forget, it's an if and then statement. They will give us the 40+ million if the city council approves it by a majority. So it's not even going to the people. It's up to the city council who represent the people. So if they approve it by a majority, and I don't know exactly what the county commissioners, I know that one of the county commissioners has started a petition against it. So it's an if and then statement. So it's not finalized.
Right,
yet.
it's not, right, it's not.
So, and then if I have anything to do with it, whatever I have to do, no, it shouldn't be there. And hopefully this city council with the new members that are on the board, that they will not agree to it.
Okay.
See, the thing about it is with Billy Richardson, the incumbent, you know, he comes up, he was far to the right. I was at a forum over at the Smith Center where he said, we need to have this Civil War Museum. He didn't want to hear what anyone else had to say. With the redrawing of the district, it went from with the demographics that he's used to 72% African American. Now he has drawn it back to the center. Now they want to do a tour going to all these, go up to Richmond, to the Civil War Museum up there and other places. The problem is you should have did that tour 13 years ago and toured the city of Fayetteville, tour Cumberland County. That's when the tour should have started. Then maybe it wouldn't have been called the Civil War Museum, it might have been called the History Center because you got the people involved. You know, Ralph Huff and Mac Healy, who are part of that, you know, they spoke at the city council meeting saying this will create conversation and healing and it's about education. We don't need $80 million, $60 million, $80 million to do that. All we have to do is sit down at the table and talk. We already have the Market House. Why we need a Civil War Museum?
What other issues, I guess you going to Raleigh, what other issues you think is important to address while you're there?
The Medicaid expansion.
Yeah, you did mention that.
Like I said earlier, all we have to do is say yes. There's 37 other states that are participating in it. In 2016, we could have received up to 90% of the money from the government, and over the years, it has went down. Right now, we currently receive 60%. The Medicaid expansion will help keep rural hospitals open. Let's say that someone loses their job. It will help protect those who are most vulnerable, our kids. Provide them some type of coverage. And, you know, and also with the General Assembly budget, with the 8% increase for equitable pay for teachers, educators, and the supporting staff. You know, we had a school that shut down here because of mode. I was at the symposium for Cumberland County schools, and Fayetteville State was included in that, Methodist University and Fayetteville Tech. Dr. Valentine got up there and spoke, and she said, we need to have a budget because she cannot give teacher raises. She cannot do capital improvement. And this is affecting our Cumberland County school system. It's affecting our state university being at Fayetteville State, and it's also affecting Fayetteville Tech Community College. We need to pass the General Assembly budget.
Mr. Johnson, I appreciate you coming on the program today with us. And one last statement you have for your constituents and people that might vote for you. What do you want to say to them as you depart?
Is that you educate yourself. You know, I'm working the poll every day. I had knee replacement January the 14th. And I'm out there at the poll every day over at Cliffdale or at the down at the Board of Election over at Smith Recreation Center. I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen the sleight of hands. For example, and I'm just going to put it out there. You know, my incumbent, Billy Richardson, has his palm card. And on his palm card, he has a picture of himself and Representative Marcus Lucas. I see his poll workers, when a voter comes up, potential voter comes up, they point to Marvin Lucas and say, we need to keep this good man in office. Flip the card and start talking about the narrative. That's a sleight of hand. You're pointing to the African-American guy. We need to keep this good man in office. So what happened the other day, the young lady, I pull out my palm card. After she went to them, I said, good afternoon, my name is Terry Johnson. I am the candidate for North Carolina House of Representatives District 44, and this is my beautiful family. I'm here, and I can answer any questions that you might have for me. And she said, I have one question. And what she does, she pulled up the incumbent's palm card, and she points to Marvin Lucas and asked me, is this Billy Richardson? I said, no, ma'am. That's Billy Richardson right there. So it's that little sleight of hand. But you know, some people might say that's petty. But in this race, like I say, every voice matters and every vote counts. So I tell the people, get out there, educate yourself before you come down to the poll. You know, early voting started February 13th through the 29th, with the primary on March the 3rd. And so just come out, educate yourself. And with me, of course, yes, I'm biased towards my campaign. Go to www.electterryjohnson.com.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. You know, like I said, I've been in the community. I've been volunteering in the community. You know, I'm here. I'm a veteran. And so, and the thing about it, I leave it all on the field. And the people see me out there. They see me out there on the dirt coaching. They see me out there volunteering. And so I'm just asking for the people's vote, because I cannot do this alone. So my motto is, let's turn the page together in 2020.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
All right,
Wish you the best,
sir.
okay?
Thank you, sir.
And come back, feel free to come back in the general election, and we'll talk again.
Oh, most definitely.
All right, take care,
Thanks
sir.
for having me.
Thank you very much. All right.